Hello everyone. Thank you for joining us for our monthly video update for July 2021. I have to apologize for being delinquent in the videos for May and June. Like many of you, I do have a day job, and as we begin to phase back and return to the office, my schedule has started to get more hectic. We have lots to share this month, so let's get right into it. Let's begin with an update from the board on the members. The board has received, or did receive, several candidacy forms to fill the open board position during our last meeting on June 30th, and the decision was finally made and formalized. Our newest board member is Mr. James Chan. James brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to the table, with many years of experience as a CFO for a multinational corporation and a CPA. I'm sure he'll be sharing more about himself on a future video, so I'll let him kind of formally introduce himself on one of those future videos. We're excited to welcome James and look forward to his partnership and influence on the board. Next, I'd like to review our top priorities as they stand for the remainder of the year. Number one, obviously, landscaping. I want to give a huge shout out to Emily Ann and David Cohen for coming to our rescue and helping out with the two areas along Patterson Drive and Chithamwood. Their efforts were a huge help for us, and we were able to avoid thousands of dollars in fines from the city. Now, to bring everybody up to speed, it's no secret that the HOA is not happy with our current landscape provider's performance. So as such, we have begun the process of bidding out the business. We have been reaching out to other larger HOAs in the city of Frisco to gain their feedback and understand which company they use so we can inquire about receiving a bid. We've already met with several companies, and we hope to be able to finalize that decision within the next couple of months. As it stands, though, we have 4 big items that we're trying to solve for. Obviously, the first one is removal of the dead bushes and repair to any damages caused in the process. Second, ongoing care and maintenance of our common areas and property. Third, redesign of our common areas. If you have driven around the property, part of the reason why we are in such a predicament with the dead bushes is because the developer essentially has overdeveloped and over-landscaped our common areas. So as a result, the ongoing care and maintenance of our perimeter areas is much more complex, more difficult, and now we have a major expense facing us. So the only way forward is to consider options to try to simplify some of our perimeter areas to try to make it easier and less expensive to maintain. And then fourth, implementation of any of those changes to our common areas. Whatever changes we want to make will need to be approved by the city, and then we will need to implement those changes. So as you can imagine, there is cost associated with everything here. So we are being very cautious with our evaluation of different providers and landscapers to help us address all of these issues. We are we are super excited to have a beautification committee, which has been very active lately on Voxer. Our plan is to leverage their expertise and help in the bid and selection process. Next, legal matters. Real Manage has been very helpful and recently informed us of several legal items which impact us directly. There have been some recent legislative changes within the state of Texas, some that have already taken effect immediately, and others that take effect in September. Some of these will affect us directly. Also, there are areas within our policies that we have in place and our bylaws that need to be brought into compliance with current prevailing Texas property code. Third, we have had a lack of engagement and adequate responsiveness from our attorney. And fourth, updating our CC&Rs to address many issues and concerns which have been raised consistently over the years as problems. So as an update on all of these, the board members will each be attending a free webinar hosted by RealManage to better understand the legislative changes that are coming. Each of us plans to attend the training so that we can learn about what are these changes, how will they impact, and how we can address them. We do know that one of the changes that is coming is related to ACC requests, and I'll be speaking to this a little bit later in the video. We have formally engaged a new attorney who is much more organized and has a more responsive approach to addressing HOA needs. They're very experienced with HOAs, and they have a good process in place. So we have engaged that new attorney, and we have already begun the process of transferring any existing cases or matters that the other attorney was handling to the new attorney. To help streamline and hopefully control the costs, we are preparing an exhaustive list of all legal questions that we have and issues that we have, and we'll be organizing those by category and sending them to the new attorney so we can prioritize and start making progress on the many issues we have. The list includes, but isn't limited to, questions related to the Arbor's design guidelines, questions related to the the amendment that was passed in May of 2020, questions related to who owns the trees in the parkways. We have some lingering questions about those. Questions related to the ACC committee and how the ACC committee can and should approach requests which are kind of gray or maybe questionable. We have questions about the Atmos Energy situation, how to approach and resolve the many aged violations we have. We have some violations that are years aged and have yet to be resolved. We also have questions about how to approach cases of vandalism by homeowners to our private property. We also want to better understand our board legal approval authority. We need to understand what our board is legally allowed to approve from an expense perspective. Obviously, with all these expenses coming up related to the dead bushes, we need to understand, is there a max dollar amount that we are legally allowed to approve according to our bylaws? So we're working on getting clarification there. We also want to know if there is, and this is a question we receive from many homeowners, and we are going to put it on the list to the attorney to see what they say. We're very interested in understanding what the HOA, what powers we have as an HOA to legally limit or restrict rental properties in our community. So this and many more questions that we are compiling and will be sending to the attorney to get their feedback. Third, committees. Our third priority is really to get all the committees staffed, organized, and up and running. Carlos has done a fantastic job on the beautification committee. He has set agendas. He has had a orientation meeting. The committee itself has recently been working on nominations for Yard of the Month. They were also able to find some dollars to reimburse David, Cohen, and Emily Ann for the work that they did. So we're happy about that. And like I said, they will be helping us in the process of bidding out and selecting our next landscape provider. The welcoming committee, we did receive a couple of volunteers for this committee, and we would love to have at least 2 or 3 more volunteers for the welcoming committee. VJ will be chairing this committee, and he will be working with the committee members to review the welcome packet that we have to make sure that it is completely up to date with the latest information and resources. This committee is super important because it is this committee's job to make sure that any new homeowners that move into our community know where to go to get all of the HOA information know what resources are out there, and understand their responsibilities as a homeowner to really be informed and to be aware that there are CCNRs out there, restrictions that they should be aware of. Social events. We haven't had a ton of activity in the social events committee, but we would love to see some. We want to see some ideas from everybody on what social events we should plan. I know somebody had thrown out the idea of potentially a summer bash. We need help planning. If we're going to do a summer bash, we would love to have some volunteers to help plan the event, figure out the scope, and try to figure out what kind of a budget we would need to have for that. And then obviously following through and hosting and helping to plan and execute those events. Satisfaction committee. We had our first ever annual satisfaction survey that closed out on June 30th. The satisfaction committee will be getting the results of that survey here within the next few days, and they will be tasked with presenting the results to the board at our next meeting at the end of the month. We hope to see some really good information from that survey. And the great thing is that this survey can be tweaked, it can be changed, so that if we feel like we want to change questions for the next year, we absolutely can do that. But the hope is for us to better understand your needs as a homeowner and prioritize our budget and our plans for the year ahead. So we look forward to hearing from the Satisfaction Committee at our next meeting on the results of the survey. We do know that many people did not receive the link to the survey. For those of you who did not receive the link, you must go to ciranet.com, CIRANET.com, and establish your homeowner profile and make sure that your email address is there and that you click on there that you allow RealManage to contact you. We've confirmed with RealManage that this is what's necessary. You have to have a profile, you have to have an email address there, and you have to select your preferences for communication. Atmos. We have received a ton of interest in joining the Atmos committee. I have finalized that list of people. I have been developing a kind of a committee charter per se, to try to explain what the scope of the committee is. At this point, there's really no action needed, as we haven't really received any new correspondence at all from Atmos or that third-party survey company that they hired. So we hope that it stays this way. However, we feel that it is important that we have a committee at least formed in case we do receive some type of communication or some other, inquiries or whatever from either Atmos or the third-party land survey company. Okay. Photography committee. Unfortunately, we haven't received much interest in this committee, but I know that we have a lot of amateur photographers in the neighborhood. We would love to have great pictures of our amenities, great pictures of our community, great pictures of our social events that we can share on social media and that we can use for different HOA related things, presentations and such. So if you have a knack for photography, we would love your help in joining the photography committee. And lastly, our fourth top priority at this point is Office 365. Thanks to Tom, we have been working to implement Office 365 for our board members to use. We're working to implement standardized emails and procedures. Basically where we are right now is Tom and I are currently testing the emails that we've set up, and we're also developing procedures and business rules for how we will use Office 365. Here's a few items though we hope to achieve with Office 365. Standardized emails for preservation and continuity of board activities, improved data retention overall and creating redundancy in HOA documents and records, documentation of procedures, protocols, policies in a central OneNote notebook for current and future board members to use. And then lastly, enhancements to communication capabilities by leveraging those ancillary solutions that are included in Office 365, whether it's Teams or SharePoint or OneDrive, shared documents, and so on and so forth. So as you can see, we have a ton of items to address, and we must prioritize and stay focused if we are to achieve success for our community. So at this point, I hope you're asking yourself, what can I do to help? Well, to you, I say this: please consider volunteering for a committee. We cannot have enough committee members. Really, at least we want to have at least 5 members in each committee, but we would love to have more. We would love to be in a position to where we're having to turn people away because we have so many people involved. We want to get to that point, so please consider volunteering for a committee. One of our upcoming legislative changes appears to require the HOA to have a separate committee altogether to address ACC requests. This is a critical change to the HOA process. It is one that requires serious attention by homeowners who have the ability to lean in and really not only just read the CC&Rs and policies, but really internalize and understand the purpose and spirit of the restrictions. We cannot have a group of people simply just approving all requests without any consideration. What else can you do? Aspire and strive to be a better neighbor. What does that mean? Simply put, it means don't be the neighbor who goes on social media to bash board members they have never met because you received a violation for grass in your flower beds. In this community, we care about the overall appearance of everyone's home. We didn't move into this committee expecting it to become run down with unkept yards, broken and unsightly garage doors, cracked and falling brick, or worse. We each moved into this community because it is located in one of the fastest growing and high profile cities in the country. We have the training facility for America's team, the Cowboys. We have a new satellite campus for UNT coming. And in another year, we will have PGA headquarters and a brand new golf course within a few miles of us. This is a big deal, and you should see this as a big deal. We all agree that no one is perfect, but if we all make a bigger effort to take pride in our homes, we can all benefit from the rewards. Third, we urge you to go to ciranet.com, CIRANET.com, and create and update your profile. This is where you'll be able to find all the updated documents for our community. And remember, it is your responsibility to read and understand the bylaws, CC&Rs, and policies and rules related to our community. Do not trust your neighbor. Do not take Facebook's word for it. Most of the time, the advice that's given on social media is wrong. Also, please consider attending our monthly meetings. We meet the last Wednesday of every month at 7 p.m. via Zoom. And I will say we did have a snafu last month with the meeting ID, and I'll be working personally with RealManage to make sure that we have within Zoom. I think there's the feature to have a personal meeting room, and I think we're going to see if we can set that up, and that way the meeting ID will be static and will be the same every meeting. We thank you for being in our community. We thank you for your involvement, and we hope to see you at the next meeting. Thank you. Take care.